Hello, we're live. Are we live?
I think we are live. It
Welcome to
just
our spooky
popped up.
show. It popped up.
Very scary.
Ooh.
We got 2 Halloween episodes coming. This one and the one we're going to do next Monday.
Oh, yay. Perfect timing for the month.
I know. It's great. My, those are long fingers you have, Crystal.
Thank you. And everybody listening, you'll have to go online to see what's making all this annoying crinkling noise. All right, I'll get rid of it.
It just said, did you see this pop up? It said an error occurred. Please try again later.
Oh, nope. I didn't see that.
Hold on a second. Let me see if we are live on YouTube. Do you want to check?
See the thing pop up that shows the chat.
You want to check
Live
on X?
Chat. It's a little quiet here. Make some noise.
It says live now. Just welcome to our live show. Hold on a second. Let me see if we are live on YouTube. Yep. We are live on YouTube. You just heard it.
Yay. Welcome, everybody.
But it just says welcome to our live show. We are talking ghost tours today, since it doesn't tell you what our live show is. So Crystal and I are about to do a live recording of the Stacking Adventures podcast. So sit back, relax, join in. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put the YouTube back up so that if people have discussion on this topic, we can include you in the show. I have trouble going back and forth.
Oh.
But we will try our. So sit back, relax, join in. Actually, no. We'll try our best. I know you're hearing it through my speaker.
Yes. Everybody just heard it.
All right. Let me put this over here in a corner.
Put that. Nobody puts baby in a corner. It better not be baby you put in a corner.
Don't put Joe in a corner.
Well, Joe can, but not baby.
Live chat.
I said hi on the chat. Why I said hi with a whole bunch of eyes too. Oh, is that not the live stream chat?
I'm not seeing it yet. Nope, you're not in the right one.
It says message everyone. Send a message to audience. Maybe it's delayed. I sent it a full minute ago. Welcome to our chaos. Oh, my YouTube needs to upload.
I'm going to type out a little bit here.
Okay, yeah, I see yours. Hey, we're talking guest tours today. Yeah, I see yours. You don't see mine?
No. I think you might be in just the Riverside chat for us.
But I saw yours. Yours is right above.
Yeah, because I'm doing it right in YouTube.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yes. I've got the screen of death. Not the screen of death, but the updating wheel of death over here.
Oh, no.
For my YouTube.
Oh, my Lumen stock is up to $6.50. Yay. Okay. Now that I've checked my stock and we've been working on.
Yeah, I don't see me. Now I'm going to say something in the other.
Let me see if there you are.
Interesting. The other one was Riverside Crystal.
And it has me as Stacking Benjamins in there. Okay.
My story.
But
my
I think
story. My story.
But I think the other still works as well. Mystery. Let's see if voicemail still works. Yep, it still does.
How did I forget that that quickly?
Whoa, that's not good.
I know.
Stackingadventures.com/mystory does not take you. Yes, it does. It does.
It does.
Yeah, it took me to a weird place. I was like, wait a minute. All right. As you guys can see, Crystal and I are busy getting our stuff together.
Crystal clear.
Mine is?
Yeah.
Crystal clear with Crystal.
But crystal's not clear. Why is
We have a
that?
problem. If,
Houston.
if if Crystal's not clear, who can be clear?
Is it Houston or Texas? Texas? We have a problem.
Okay. Let me dividend Gypsy joining us. Hey, Kev. Kevin hanging out with us this morning.
Hi. Good morning from Mexico.
Glad you are
Hola.
here.
I don't do
Yes. I'm
Mexico
not drinking.
sounds.
Kevin makes coffee. I'm not drinking Kevin coffee,
Oh,
but I do have the
some
Stacking
water.
Benjamins mug today. The greatest money show on earth mug.
Oh, wow.
Yes. All right, Crystal, you ready to do this?
Let's do this.
Here we go. Kevin, you've been on a ghost tour before? Uh, give us your good, bad, ugly. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom.
Crystal, I've been to your city before.
You have.
Your city is so historic. And so has it ever felt spooky?
Yeah, every time I'm walking home alone. This city, so I live in Old Town, Alexandria, Virginia. So this is an old town, like literally one of the first settlements, and everything has to stay its original historic. Like you can't build anything that's not brick. That's a triple negative. Can't build anything that's not. I love speaking in circles like that.
I know. English major's head exploded.
And it's really cool to see a lot of the houses when you're walking along the streets. They look the same. It's really cute, but they also have those original gas
Oh.
lanterns on the building. So they have still the gas. There's a, a flame, a flickering through the nights of Old Town. So it is, and there's a lot of kooky and creepy and um, scary tunnels around town, secret passageways around town, and they date back to the 1800s, and they're in their original form too. So it's super cool, super creepy, especially when you're walking home alone, middle of the night, but it's super safe and it's super cool.
Yeah, hard pass for me. Downtown
Oh, I
Texarkana
love it.
is the same. It really has had a resurgence. We've lived here 14 years, minus 2.
Hmm.
We moved back to Detroit for a couple of years. But I'll tell you, Crystal, there are still buildings that have not been rehabbed. And the old train station downtown is an example.
Ooh.
Amtrak as part of it, but the rest of it's abandoned. The windows are broken, and it just you can feel the ghost. In fact, across from the train station is this wonderful old hotel, and by wonderful I mean it's still dilapidated. It is still nobody's refurbished it, but you can feel the
Oh.
ghosts. You can feel the ghost. Even our theater. Our theater was refurbished by Ross Perot and named after
Mm,
his parents and gifted back to the city. But even our theater has ghosts. They have a great ghost tour for our city.
I'd be
So
scared. You're in a theater in the dark. They can
I
grab your
oh
legs.
well, you know what? The spotlights come on their own, and they have had some of those time delay cameras where you can see people. You can see the chairs, which
Reflection.
fold up when you're
Yeah.
not sitting in them, and it's got the spring loaded chair. You can see the chairs go down on their
No.
own in the middle of the night.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Not going in there.
On today's show, one trip option a lot of people don't think about while they're exploring America or the world is taking a ghost tour. And because it's October, Crystal and I thought it's the perfect time for this topic, though it doesn't need to be Halloween to experience a ghost tour. In some historic towns, these are great all year round. So today, we're both going to share our good, our bad, our quirky. I've got a quirky one, Crystal, and our ugly. I've got an ugly one too. And we'd love input from you. More on that later on in the show.
You know what's creepy and scary as an adult? Do you know what the biggest scary scares me the most?
What, hanging out with me?
No, it's dishes and laundry. Those suckers, they replenish daily. Like I hate it. I
How does
hate
that
it.
happen? Who uses all these
I
dishes?
know. Ooh, they need to
Dun, dun,
stop it
dun.
on next week's show. And at the end of this episode and every episode, you'll hear our gear of the day pick. So if you're looking for best in class gear that's worth the price, head to our Amazon page at stackingadventures.com/gear of the day. We love acronyms, or patreon.com/GOTD. You'll help the show and you'll help yourself adventure better and for less money.
Into announcer guy. I'll cut out this and announcer guy ends. And here we go. Welcome to the Stacky Adventures podcast, where we head around the world and today to the spookiest parts of the world with our adventure community to stack memories we'll all remember forever. She's Crystal Hammond.
And I'm Joe. Haha, he's Joe. So say hi.
Awesome. And let's get adventuring, Crystal. So, well, you're kicking off this one, huh?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, do you remember your first costume, or what was your most elaborate or memorable costume, you'd say?
I remember my parents bought a new refrigerator and I had that big refrigerator box. So I spray painted that gray, cut out armholes, cut out a hole in the top with help from my wonderful mom. And then on the top, we used to get big gallon circle drums of ice cream. It must have been more than a gallon. This must have been like a big old tub of ice cream. But anyway, I put that on the top. I took some coat hangers and put them through the top so they look like antennas. And I was a robot that I, for goodness knows what reason, called Henry. Henry the robot, maybe third grade.
Third grade. Oh, no, that proves. I know Sandy Smith and Kevin Matthews, they always post about their children playing with boxes. They're like, I spent all this money on an expensive toy, but my child chose to play with a box. So you look at you in third grade still playing with those boxes. You saw, some people saw trash, but you saw opportunity.
Treasure. All right, back at you. I bet you still dress up for Halloween, Crystal.
Yes, but sometimes I guess you gotta consider the audience, because I really thought I had a clever costume one year. It was for my nephew's baby shower. And I had these Kiss Me I'm Irish pants. And I had a t-shirt that had a car and a bomb on it. And nobody guessed what I was. Could you guess what that is?
You were an Irish car bomber?
Irish car bomb. 0 people in Chicago guessed my costume, and I thought I was super clever.
But that's still a horrible venue to be a car bomber.
Oh yeah, that was even funny too. Well, but that's a shot. That's a drink shot.
It is.
That's what I got it from. Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Yes. Yeah, you know what the scariest costume is that I can think of?
Tell me.
Like an engineer working in the patent office. Like that would be horrifying.
Ha ha. Well, the rejection office is what they like to call it, but it's a fun place. It's a very fun place.
It is. Well, let's go to our fun place. Let's talk about what makes a good ghost tour. Because Crystal, I've been on a lot of ghost tours. You've been on a few. How many ghost tours do you think you've been on?
That's a good question. I mean, I've been on a couple of tours. I do a lot of Halloween and ghost themed stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So I would say at least like 5, 10.
I counted them. I think I've done 7 different ghost tours around America. And I think that a good ghost tour, let's talk about what makes a good ghost tour before we get into our favorites and some of the places where, if you're thinking about this time of year and you happen to be in the region, maybe you want to make a trip to one of these cities, one of these iconic places. But a good ghost tour, I think, first of all, starts with the right city. Certainly there are places. I don't know that I would think ghost tour if I were in Phoenix, Arizona, as an example, or Vegas,
sunny Florida.
Maybe, right, exactly. Maybe downtown at Fremont Street in Vegas, there might be some ghost tour things by the old casinos, but I still don't really think ghost tour. There's so much to do in those cities. I'll tell you, the best ghost tours that I've done really had a lot to do with the city I was in. Last year, we did a ghost tour. You and I did separate ghost tours, but we both did ghost tours in New Orleans while we were there for conferences. That might have been one of the best ones that I've done. Charleston, South Carolina. Talk about history. Great place for a ghost tour. The first one I ever did was in Williamsburg, Virginia, Old Town Williamsburg. And, Revolutionary history, pretty cool time for our nation, obviously, but also the ghosts that come along with that tour were fantastic.
Yeah, I second New Orleans for a really great venue. And surprisingly, Columbus, Ohio, there was a venue
Oh,
that
that's interesting.
oh yeah, well, because the Arena District, fun fact, it's built on the Ohio penitentiary.
Easy for
And
you to say.
it's that's rolls off the tongue. And that's been known to be haunted. So that's another cool, like just historical grounds of where things have been built. And people who work in those areas say, "Oh yeah, I felt some strange things happen like while at work."
Well, the interesting thing about Columbus is I know Columbus was a very small city, a railroad town for a long time. And then it truly has been what, the 1980s, 1970s, and 80s that it really got rolling. I mean, Columbus, you look at the growth in Columbus. And what's cool about that, Crystal, downtown, and people that haven't been to Columbus, like you have and I've been,
Uh-huh.
man, just so many of these cool, bars that you go into, restaurants you go
Yes.
into, they are gutted old warehouses.
Yep, that is a fact. The Arena District, the Short North, all those areas. And yeah, the Short North does sound like a railroady kind of area. But another area where we you wouldn't think that would be a good venue, Hawaii. I've actually
Really?
done something in Hawaii.
A ghost
Yeah.
tour in Hawaii.
Well, not necessarily a tour, but it was a parade. They do a really big parade around Halloween. Totally didn't know that. And we just happened to be there for my friend's birthday because her birthday's Halloween. So, yeah, we totally didn't know that was an unexpected surprise, a huge parade.
Well, I do like this idea though of unexpected places because
Hmm.
it can just bring a different light to the city. And I know that if you're exploring Charleston as an example, or Columbus, Ohio, or heck, someplace in Hawaii, Honolulu, Maui, it brings a different light to the city. What I most like about ghost tours is they always include history of the
Yep.
city, but you're looking at it through different eyes. You're looking at through, instead of the best a city has to offer, sometimes the most gruesome and ugly stuff that maybe the city planners don't want you to know. And I opened up a website. We'll include this on the show notes, travelhag.com. And I love this list because number one at Travel Hag is you want an enthusiastic, knowledgeable guide who can speak publicly. How do you know that you're getting into a tour that as an enthusiastic, knowledgeable guide who can speak publicly? I think, Crystal, because I've been on some really bad ghost tours, you got to read a lot of reviews, a
Hmm.
lot of reviews
Yeah,
before you go on the tour.
yeah, the reviews will definitely save you a lot of time, money, because we care about our hard-earned money, and heartache. Because there's nothing worse than someone who can't enunciate. Like you need somebody who, when they're talking, you're going to pay attention to what they have to say. You can hear it. You don't. There's not background noise, and they don't speak up. They just cower even lower. So yeah, that would suck.
Good point. We went on a tour in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it was along the street with some of the most gorgeous old houses, Crystal, just
Mm.
gorgeous old houses from the 1800s. And we're walking down the most beautiful street in St. Paul, maybe one of the most beautiful streets in the Midwest. And this woman is sharing stories about the houses and about some. And by the way, the bones of these stories were great. The woman was a mumbler, and
Ah.
so I had trouble getting some. In fact, several times people said, "What was that again?" Like not just us. We had maybe 12 of us, 12, 14 people on the tour, and they kept asking her to speak up. And then the second problem was she didn't really know how to frame a story. She wasn't
Oh.
a great a great storyteller. So that was difficult. We did not, by the way, do adequate preparation. I went to leave a review afterwards
Yeah.
of that tour. And had I done some homework ahead of time, better homework ahead of time, I would have known that this was going to be a problem. You know what, though? In the end, Crystal, it truly didn't matter because I still got to walk down this beautiful street. We went back the next day and walked along it again
Oh, cool.
because the street was so pretty. So even though the tour might have been somewhat of a bust, being in that area that I didn't even know existed was really cool.
Mhm.
Number two on this list, it should include history of the tour region. And certainly that's baked into the tour. I know I took a tour here in Texarkana once, and so much of the history of Texarkana is the fact that it was a railroad town in the late 1800s. And during that time, it was pretty lawless. You had the Union Pacific Railroad, the Kansas City Southern Railroad, Kansas Southern Railroad.
Mhm.
And those two railroads brought in all kinds of crazy characters. And between the gunfights, the opium dens, the prostitution, there
Oh.
were plenty of things in the witch's cauldron to make just a horrible, horrible stuff that happened in our town way back in the day.
There's another one too in Ohio. I haven't gone to this one, but there is a museum that's also it's open to the public as a museum, but it used to be a safe house on the original Underground Railroad. So talk about history. Imagine even walking through it or breezing through it and not know, or the tour guide not offer that, very important piece of information.
Yeah, how would you not like
Yeah.
that's not even questionable. That sounds criminal,
Yeah, it is. It would be. Dang.
Which brings up number 3. The guy should know the details of the haunted tale. The best ghost tours you'll go on, they can share lots and lots of details. Something else I like, and I'm not sure that it's on this list. I really like the fact that that some of these ghost tours. We went in Traverse City, Michigan, and in Traverse City they gave us all one of those little it's called an EMP, like an electrical device that will tell you if you think that there's
Oh,
ghost around.
activity. Oh, goodness.
Yes.
What do the Ghostbusters use? What do they call it? The flux capacitor? Oh no, that's Back to the Future.
This was just a little electric device that would start going crazy, supposedly,
We were the
if there were
Ghostbusters.
ghosts. And this woman set us loose in a park that had been a cemetery, and she
Oh no,
said that
thanks.
there were still maybe bodies buried below us, and they had picked up activity in this park before. So here I am in Traverse City, Michigan, walking around this park, watching these dots, hoping like
Huh.
hell they don't go off.
Maybe they were giving you those were metal detectors and you didn't know. That would have
That's what
been
I
funny.
do
Yeah, I don't
if I
like
live one.
cemeteries. I did a bike tour once and part was a cemetery, but they wouldn't let us through because there was a funeral. I was like, "Phew." I was like, "I sure didn't check the map to know that we were going to ride through a cemetery." I don't like them. Not my tea.
I also like number 4 on this list. The guy should recount the details of today's paranormal activity. The best ghost tours I've
Oh.
been on. The tour guide goes, now this is interesting. And this is from Traverse City too. The woman told us as we're carrying these devices in her hand, she's like, normally I'm going to tell you, you're not going to get anything. So if you don't get anything, don't worry about it. She goes, but we had this tour 3 weeks ago and we had one device that was really lighting up in one certain place and it felt cold there. So we brought everybody over and everybody could feel the cold
Oh.
while they were there. The New Orleans ghost tour that I took, I don't know how yours went, Crystal, but my guide told stories from a long time ago about Dracula,
Yeah,
vampires,
yeah. Yep.
but he also told stories about recent history. We stopped at a house that Nicolas Cage had purchased that he won't
Hmm.
even go in anymore
Oh
because
no.
he's so afraid of this house. It was the most currently haunted house in New Orleans, according to our guide. So taking today, which makes you think, you know what? There could be a ghost with us right now.
Yeah, that was another cool thing because we even saw some movie sets that were still intact from different movies too. They're like, "Oh, this was filmed here." So adding that pop culture in there too was really cool because I don't remember the names of the movies, but we saw a couple scenes from or sets from movies, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool."
That is awesome.
Yeah.
The just seeing where the stuff is made. You said before we hit record that was in a on a bayou tour you did.
Yeah, Bayou tour. Yep.
That would be
And
cool.
it
Now,
was yeah, right up
a bayou tour would be spooky just because you're in the bayou.
it was the high because we were in the middle of, all wetlands on both sides of us, and then we roll up on a house. So you're just going through and boom, there's a house. it's tempting to wanna hop out and see if the stairs work, but nothing you could tell if you
Oh,
stepped on that stuff, you'd crash into the water, but you're rolling up on crocodiles, alligators, and
nope.
they tell you, "Okay, that one you can tell how big it is by the length from the nose to the eyes," I believe, or how far away the eyes are. I don't remember what he said, but there are a lot in the water too, like, we were in their happy place, in their quiet space. They're like, "Oh my god, here comes another group. Let's see if anyone looks great enough for lunch." But the alligators we saw, but we did see a couple houses and they were still untouched though too, and that was another cool thing.
Well, one of the things it says is not important for a good ghost tour that we should shine a light on is dark versus daylight. You can truly
Oh.
go on a great ghost tour in the middle of the day. You know what's funny is this person had been on ghost tours, and there's one that I forgot to list. They said the worst ghost tour they went on was in Gettysburg, and another one in Salem, Massachusetts. How can you go on a
Oh,
bad
the
ghost tour in
Salem.
Salem? Seems like you go on a great one in Salem. You know what? In a place like Salem, though, your expectations might be so high
Yeah.
that you don't go. Gettysburg, I went on a very good ghost tour in Gettysburg. I forgot about that one.
Mm.
And I also did one in Jefferson, Texas, which used to be this booming town. But then a guy named Shreve diverted the river. So there was a river, and riverboats used to go up into Jefferson, Texas. So it used to be this huge town. Now it's a very small, maybe 15,000 people live in Jefferson. Very small, old city. But once the river got diverted by Shreve, the city dried up because there was nothing to do there anymore. By the way, guess what city Shreve created when he diverted the river? Shreveport.
Oh, I was gonna say Texarkana.
No, Shreveport, believe it or
Ah,
not.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's talk about some of our favorites. Was that Bayou Tour your favorite?
No. Oh, no. What was my favorite? One of my favorites, that's a good question. Columbus, Ohio. So when I was still in college, down in the Arena District, there's a haunted house. And even to set the scene, so it's October in Ohio, so you can only imagine how we're freezing. We're freezing our tails off. And so we think, okay, we'll get in and out. No, we arrive. The line is around like we're zigzagging like it's a roller coaster. You know how you have the maze to get up
Yeah.
to the front. You never know when you're going to get to the front. So we're outside freezing. So we finally get up there, and it was so scary and so much fun. Like I was it's always me. So they have chainsaws, like there's ghosts, there's vampire, like there's everyone coming from you. And this is a haunted house, not technically a tour. This is more of a haunted house. And I get scared and I do the bowling ball domino effect. So I
Oh
get scared
no.
and I
Oh
run and
no.
we all fall. There's like a long line of people who fall. So I wouldn't say that's the best, but I just wanted to say that was my most memorable is
Most
that
iconic moment.
I'm the person that caused the bowling ball domino topple effect at one of those haunted houses.
On an early date that Cheryl and I had, the JCs in Lansing, Michigan were putting on a haunted house, and it was a tent in the parking lot of one of the local strip malls. And so we go into this tent. Crystal, I'm so afraid of all of this stuff. So I grab Cheryl's hand. We go into the first room. I I see this dude, and he starts walking toward us, and he's supposed to be uh Frankenstein or something. And I know it's just a guy in a costume, and I know he's not going to do anything to us. And I freak out and I start moving as fast as I can through this thing. And they have like this gruesome scene set up, another gruesome scene set up. I'm sure there are people working there that I flew by them so quickly they didn't have time to scare me. I come around this corner. There's two guys with fake chainsaws, and
Yeah.
they have their masks though pushed up. So they're just chatting with each other because nobody's coming anytime soon. And literally, I think one guy's probably telling the other one, he's like, so what are you doing for dinner later? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? I come around the corner. I see these two guys. I can hear them chatting about normal stuff. They turn to me. They realize they're supposed to be scaring me. So they put their mask down and go, bruh. And I go, bah!
Wait, where was Cheryl? Did you
Oh, she
leave
was
her?
right with me. And,
Oh,
and, and,
cool.
and she's like, I hurt her hand so bad. I think we paid like, it's a long time ago. I think we paid like $5 or $10 to go through this per person. It was the biggest waste of money because I was through it in 3 minutes flat. I was through I was not standing there. I was like, that's
Your
done.
fault. That is totally your fault. One of the fun things that I do now every year, actually, so Del Rey, they have a Halloween, the house decorating contest. So you can do a bike ride and you can tour all of the different house scenes. That's one of the coolest thing I do. I'm gonna miss it this year because it's at I'll be at FinCon with Joe, but I'm so hurt to miss it. But you can also do the tour as a bike or a walking tour. And I like that the kids, they all dressed up because I did the bike one. So there were parents with their kids. We go at a slow pace. I was thankful for that because I like to bike, but I'm not that great at it. But one of the cool houses that we saw, they had a dinner party on their lawn and it was different mannequins and they had on these really cool masks and I was like, "Okay, I wanna go to their house for one of these dinner parties because it was a really cool scenery. It was set up, we pull up to this one and there's a main big long table and this is in their front yard. There's a long table and then there's another like a kiddie table, but the costumes, like, they had on really elaborate outfits, but they had these, like, crazy scary, like, the masquerade masks with the horns coming out from the two like, it was really cool. There were things different,
Wow.
like crows, hanging from the trees above. Like, you guys, if you're in the, DC area, come to Del Rey. There and it's right off the main street. I wanna say it's Commerce Street, but it's one of the coolest houses I've ever the dinner party scene, but we saw some of everything. It was maybe like a 2, 3 mile bike ride, but it was one of the coolest things that I do in the area.
That brings up a different type of tour, not a ghost tour, but I've done in small, medium town America. Some of these towns to raise money will do parade of homes where
Oh.
you can go into some of the iconic historic houses in these towns as you're going through an area, especially some of these old beautiful towns in Ohio, as an example. These
Yeah.
these little mid-American towns along the East Coast, probably in a lot of places. Look and see if they have a parade of homes during the time that you're there, where you can go into these houses and they've decorated them up and you get to go into these old historic homes, almost like, I don't know if you've ever done this, Crystal, where you just go into you go into the open house, that
Oh, real estate.
real estate where they're just having an open house. You don't care to buy it. You just want to go in that house. Like, I just want to look through this
We
person's house.
That is, yeah, you mentioned that. That's cool. We do I volunteer for I'm a twig. We're called the Twigs. And we do the historic homes tour. And this year, it's normally in November, but I was a docent. I didn't even know what that word meant, but I was a docent at this really cool house. And just to learn the history, because when you're on these home tours, also, you get to learn the history because one of the homes, the room, it had a slant, like the ceiling, like here, I'm showing you, like this was a slant in the
Yeah.
bedroom and it was because the old town there used to be a lot of creeks that ran through town and so the settlement from the creek is caused the house to unevenly settle.
Wow.
So
Really?
yeah, so but they actually got it fixed and they had to dig these pillars into the ground and they went 28 feet into the ground before they reached solid ground before they could stabilize the house. But it's like, yeah, it's so you can see it sinking, but it's no longer sinking. But this is where they stopped and now it's like it looks really cool though.
Instead of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you got the Leaning House of
In
that
Old
town.
Town. That's
Yeah.
cool. And it was across from Hammond Street. I was like, it's speaking to me. I need to live on this Hammond court.
Hammond on Hammond Court. Of course, they
Exactly.
named it after you. Duh.
Yeah.
It is time, because we're halfway through today's
We
show,
are.
for our road trip pit stop. On the pit stop, when you're on that road trip, you're always dreaming about what's at the end of the adventure, how cool it's going to be when you get there. And our pit stop's always a hint at our gear of the day. We are slowly compiling this cool page, which is all of Crystal and mine and our guest favorite gear. So we hint at it. You can guess what it is, dream about it, think about it at the end of the show. We'll share what it is. You can see our past gear of the day and then today's gear of the day at stackingadventures.com/gear of the day or GOTD if you're looking for cool gear and play tested gear and gear that we know you're going to like. And you help the show, by the way, when you do that, because Amazon gives you the same price, but sends us a little thank you and use our page. So Crystal, what is our hint at today's gear?
So our hint, one of my favorite phrases, because I'm gonna just talk on a tangent. Joe's rubbed off on me.
You?
I'm talking on tangents.
Whoa, hey, I'm right here.
One of my favorite phrases, though, is the next big thing is small. Like, I love small business. I love
Okay.
small, intimate dinners, conversations. So, our gear of the week is something small. Though it's small in size, these items have a big impact on how comfortable and refreshed you feel during your journey. And they're hidden away in a pouch or a bag, and that always makes a difference. Is that too maybe too hard?
They're hidden away in a pouch.
And they're small, but they're really big impact. Small but mighty.
Small but big impact toward what?
Towards like how comfortable and refreshed you feel.
Oh boy.
Comfortable, refreshed. I really liked your socks last time.
Yeah.
But this is also
Oh, those socks are so
something.
good. Wow.
Let's see. And you won't you'll avoid issues when you're moving through the airports, hopping on planes. Once it's packed, you're good to go. Like no doubts. Like I'm a be best foot forward on this trip.
Okay, I'm going to guess some type of a travel pillow then that you have. That is my guess. Well, let me think about that. You know
Yeah,
what? We're
think
going to
about
take our
it.
break
Take a
here, and I'm
break.
going to decide if that's my guess or not.
Okay.
We'll be
Stretch your
right.
legs.
We'll be right back after a thank you from the sponsors that make this show free. 3, 2, 1. All right, Crystal. What was your gear of the day again? Give me the hint one more time.
Welcome back, peeps. Uh, though small in size, these items have a big impact on how comfortable and refreshed you feel during your journey. And they're often hidden away in a
These
pouch or
items
bag. Make a really big difference.
comfortable and refreshed. Okay, I'm going to change it because you said these, so I think it has to be it has to be a plural word. And even though this comes as one, I think that this is, yeah. You know what? I'm going to guess, and I can't wait for the end of the show for you to tell us. But my guess
Yeah.
is going to be when we get to the end of the show. My guess is going to be sunglasses. I think you've
Oh,
got a cool pair of sunglasses
interesting.
that you like.
Mm,
So we shall
okay.
see.
Yeah, we'll let you know if that's correct. All right, back
Adv-
on to our
onto our tours. My
tours
favorite ghost tour.
begin.
Let me tell you about my favorite ghost tour. My favorite ghost tour was in Charleston, South Carolina. And there were a few things. Number one, Charleston,
Yeah.
you go to these really, really old cities, and a place like Charleston just exudes. Heck, during the day, Crystal, you're not on a ghost tour. You think about, do you think that building's haunted? So if you think it's haunted in the middle of the day while you're just walking around, you go at dusk or at night with a guide. And the tour we took in Charleston was neat because everybody got a lantern. So you're walking around with your own little lantern, and the horror stories that this guy told. And what was neat was he was very much a historian. He did not, some tours you go on that the tour guides make stuff up, or you can tell they're embellishing it. This guy didn't have to do any of that.
Hmm.
He's like, this is this building. Notice how there's bars on the bottom windows here. That's because they used to have the jail at the bottom. And one year, Charleston flooded.
Oh.
And when Charleston flooded, the people that were supposed to unlock the doors fled and forgot about the prisoners. So they all drowned down there.
Oh no.
And
That's scary.
you could still see the bars on the windows. And I remember the story. Heck, it's been 15 years since I took this ghost tour. But he said there are times when at late at night people will walk by and you can either hear like it feels like the street is filling up with water, like you can hear like ghostly water when there's no water, or you can hear people begging to
Oh.
be let out.
That's
Holy moly.
scary. That reminds me of the Pearl Harbor tour in Hawaii. It's very, it has a presence, and they even say that this is still leaking oil to this day, but
Right.
yeah, they won't touch it because that's the tomb of the sailors that were on that ship. That's really scary.
Horrifying. Did you enjoy that tour? Enjoy is a
Oh
tough word,
yeah.
but did you?
No, it was great. I learned a lot as usual, and it's that's a bucket list item. If you just find, there's your reason to go to Hawaii. Go see the Pearl Harbor tour, and
Okay,
hopefully you
fine, I'll
go
go.
do it, and then go, around this time so that you can see that big Halloween parade because it was cool. I love seeing everybody dressed up because even when we were at FinCon in New Orleans, we saw everybody dressed up, and they
There
were
was a
throwing.
parade going
It
on.
was a parade, and what I liked, and this was my first time being at a parade since I was younger, is all the cool things they throw at you during parades. Like, if you can imagine when you were younger, they throw, you're just partying on the side, and then they throw candy at you, or they throw obviously beads in New Orleans, but they were throwing like these things that light up. A lot of things have LEDs on it. They were throwing moon pies. They had different troops that were dressed up. It was funny because there was a group of old guys. They had like dad bods, but they had a whole choreographed dance that was so cool. Then they had people on, a group came with roller skates. They were all dressed up and they had a coordinated dance. Like, I forgot how much fun parades were and all the cool stuff that they threw. They threw cups, just make sure you can catch. Or if you know you can't catch, like me in flag football, let it drop to the side and then you pick it up from the ground, or use your shirt as a tent or your jacket as a tent to catch it, because yeah, you can put someone's eye out with some of the things that they throw. But it was a lot of fun, cool stuff that they threw.
Well, and
Lots
this
of
is the
fun.
thing. I don't think you knew. I certainly didn't know that parade was going
Me
on. And
neither.
looking up some of these things, what are some of the events going on when you go to a city? We talked on about my trip to Peru and Chile, and we had very little idea about the independence celebration they were having in Santiago when we were there. We had no idea that it was
Oh
independence,
yeah.
and everything was closed except the fondas, which were these big celebrations that were like fairs. And we went to one, and it was really a neat thing that had I gone at any other time. Edinburgh, when we talked about Edinburgh, the festival, right? If you happen to be
Mm-hmm.
there in August, going to the just amazing. So I love that. I want to talk about one of my quirkiest experiences before we
Okay.
go. So I'm just going to list very quickly because I've done a lot of straight up ghost tours. St. Paul, I said the ghost tour, not that great, but man, that main street in St. Paul where they have it, fantastic. I would say that was a 6 on a scale 1 to 10. First one I ever did was in Williamsburg, Virginia.
Ooh,
That was
Busch
in Old Town
Gardens.
Williamsburg. Oh, that is a wonderful Busch Gardens.
Yeah, yeah, I
By the
agree.
way, that's a whole different topic, people. But that Busch Gardens,
Yeah.
on Stacking Benjamins, we have a guy, Robert Niles, on who's the theme park insider. He says that's one of the best regional theme parks in the country. Totally agree. But Williamsburg, just an amazing tour because there's so much history. They don't have to make stuff up. Texarkana had a ghost tour that I went on. This kid could not tell stories. That was the worst tour I
Oh.
went on. Kid could not tell stories. And in fact, one family decided to bring their kids, and they had little kids, and he was going to
Oh,
tell
man.
a story about a woman who unfortunately had been raped and murdered.
Oh, darn.
And the guide, Crystal, goes, well, I really don't want to scare anybody because I see we have kids on the tour. No, these idiots decide to bring their kids. I'm on a ghost tour.
Right.
Tell me the
Scare me.
gruesome.
Yeah.
Yes. So shame on these parents for bringing young kids. You should not bring your. By the way, I've been on enough of these ghost tours, Crystal. Don't bring your young kids on a ghost tour.
Rated R. Yeah.
What do you think? I understand sitters are hard. You're on vacation. Your kids are with you. Wait until they get to be, man, even at 12, I think sometimes some of these tours like raped and murdered. How do you explain that to a 12-year-old?
Don't do it.
New Orleans was fantastic, but the weirdest one I went on, and I will highly recommend this tour. It is a ghost tour on a bus in Asheville, North Carolina. And Cheryl and I love ghost tours. The friends that we're traveling with had never gone on a ghost tour. So we said, oh, these are great. This one happens to be on a bus. We had no idea. I should have known something weird was going on when we get to the place. And they said, okay, if you want, buy a bunch of beers and bring them with you, or alcohol and bring it with you on the bus. Great. I've never been on a ghost tour where they encourage alcohol. I should have known then how weird this was going to be. So there was a microbrewery next door that they sent people to. And so I get some microbrews. We jump on the bus. The second the bus starts going, it is a show. And this guy in a Southern accent is pretending he is a mad Russian scientist.
Okay.
And there's a disco ball as well that he hangs up. And so you've got this weird disco ball, and they're playing music and he's dancing while he's telling you stuff. And then the bus would stop, and you just look out the window and he would tell you the story of a thing that happened. And there was this person named the Butcher. And this person comes on, and they have like a hog nose. And they said the guy that was the butcher, he was a butcher in town, really was a hog nose. Well, it turns out he was killing children, I think.
Oh my goodness.
There was a nun that had sex and ended up pregnant, and then had this baby. There's a person outside dressed up as a nun, and is the mad professor's telling the story about the baby, says, and then the nun knew that they couldn't be seen with the baby. And the woman playing the nun, looks to the left, looks to the right. And literally she has this like doll in her hands, Crystal, right outside the bus. So she's pretending.
Yeah.
She chucks the doll into the bushes. We're like, oh my goodness. Then we go again. By the way, I figure out, I'm like, there's all these funny actors getting on and off the bus. It's pretty neat. I realize halfway through the tour, the person playing all these parts is the same person, and our bus is going basically around the block like 5 times.
That's funny to let them change him or her.
Yes, it was a woman, and she was the butcher, then she was the nun, and then a rousing finality. And I hate the fact that I'm giving this away because your friends won't know. Take your friends on this tour if you go to Asheville, because it's so fun. Our friends keep looking at us going, what the hell is it's the weirdest, funniest thing. I was laughing my head off. We stop at a place where there had been in, for lack of a better word, early 1900s insane asylum. And Zelda Fitzgerald, the famous wife of novelist F. Scott Fitzgerald, had been finally committed there. There are all these stories. I don't know if people know the stories about Zelda, but Zelda was always kind of wacky. And Zelda ends up on the top floor of this asylum. And as the bus stops, there's the same actress. She's now dressed in a cheerleader outfit, and she has pom-poms. And she said that Zelda would like to dress up, and so they have her dressed up as a cheerleader in this case. And the asylum one day caught on fire. And because she was way at the top of the thing, she died in the fire. And then the Russian mad scientist says, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to present our interpretive dance of Zelda Fitzgerald dying in the fire. Crystal, They put on some music, and this woman with her pom-poms is pom-pomming to the left, pom-pomming to the right, like there's like the
flames.
pom-poms are flames, and she's trying to dodge away from them. And finally, like she's doing the limbo, she slowly goes down. There's cars passing by. There are pedestrians passing by this woman as she's slowly going down. It was so gruesome and so damn funny all at once. I couldn't stop it. It was the funniest, weirdest ass thing
Huh.
I've ever been on. In fact, we had a guest on Stacky Benjamins, and I said, "Oh my goodness, Brian, I just wanted to tell you because he runs an Airbnb in Asheville." I said, "I don't know if you know about this, but there's this bus tour." He goes, "We tell everybody to go on that bus tour." It is the
Asheville bus tour.
weirdest tour. All right. Well, which other ones have I been on?
Well,
New
go ahead.
Orleans was
Mhm.
amazing. New Orleans scared the heck out of me. I mean, the story about vampires.
Yeah.
You really were impressed by the vampire stories.
Well, that's what I hated about the New Orleans one because I did the Witches Brew tour back in the day. To tell you how old this one was, this was 2014. It was through I bought it through Living Social. But the thing I hated about that tour was that I believed in vampires after that tour because they explained it so well and I'm like, "Oh no. That actually makes sense." All of it made sense.
Our guy told us about vampires, and he talked about how there was yellow fever in New Orleans. And so what happened is your heartbeat would get very, very shallow to the point that people thought you were dead. And the bad news was you weren't dead. And so what was funny was our guide was hilarious, Crystal. This was so good because he could scare you and then he would crack the best joke. He would say, so of course we had two things going on. Either A, there was a pandemic, or B, our relatives were vampires. So we went with option B. We had to go with option B. So they would have this cart would come along and it would pick up the bodies, and the cart would go driving along. And of course you're on these cobblestone streets and you'd hit a bump and the person would wake up. And so you would have this person who's alive. You find yourself among a bunch of dead bodies and you get out of the cart. Now, the first thing is, if you make it home, what happens? Here is Aunt Crystal coming in the door, who everybody thinks is dead, right? You're looking horrible because you have yellow fever. As you open up the door to the house, what do? Well, they're a vampire. You shoot them.
Exactly. That was so scary. They
So
died
imagine
twice.
you make it back to your house. But they also said that these people that picked up bodies, they didn't get paid based on who they picked up. They got paid based on who they delivered. So because of that, if the person driving the cart saw you getting up, they would kill you, Crystal.
Oh my God.
They would try to hit you over the head to make sure that you were dead so they get paid more money. I remember that from that New Orleans tour.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yep. You told the story so much better. Yeah, that was hilarious.
It's so good how when you get a good guide and you remember it like it was yesterday. Great places to find these tours. I should tell people this. We've talked about Viator on a lot of these shows in the past. Viator, Viator is an aggregator. There's a lot of different tours. Make sure you read a lot of reviews there. If you go to TripAdvisor, on TripAdvisor, they will, people will vote for the tours with their ranking. And sometimes if you look at Boston or Salem or Charleston, some of these iconic ghost cities, you will find a ghost tour company has been uprated so many times that they'll appear on the top things to do. And if it appears on the top things to do, still read all the reviews so you know what you're getting into. Certainly we didn't read enough in Asheville because the whole time I'm like, this is the weirdest ass. I loved it, but it was so different than what I thought I was getting into. So watch out for that. And certainly the worst one in Texarkana that I went to, I wasn't going to read anything. It was just my hometown and I wanted to go. And you know what, Crystal, for as bad as it was, we laugh about it all the time about how bad that tour was. So bad it was actually pretty funny.
That is hilarious. But then this is also another plug for reviews. You guys, make sure you're writing reviews for these places so people know. You can even name the tour guide's name. So just be like, hey, make sure you don't get Bill, because he's short winded. Or, if you
Yeah.
have Tina, or request this person, even the podcast this is our shameless plug to review the podcast.
Oh, please
But
do. You know what's
you
funny,
can,
Crystal? Ever since we started Stacking Adventures, I looked the other day, we have not had a review yet of the new
ah,
show.
we would love to hear from you.
We
But
need your reviews as we're building this show.
and to build off on where to find tours, like I've noticed that AI knows me very well because when I'm scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, I'm getting like really great recommendations for tours and for different events. And it's funny when you brought up um, day or night for tours because that reminded me I did a on George Washington's like Mount Vernon home. It's right down the street from me,
Yeah.
crazy fun night tour, and it was Halloween time, and you that reminded me like the lanterns because it's dark out there and there's different stations, and you can see like original housing quarters of like where the servants worked. You can see where they made food, like you can see everything, and that was a really cool tour. And they had little crafts along the way, and there were different storytellers at each station of that
Wow.
tour. So definitely it's right down the GW Parkway. You can visit the historic, George Washington's house and the whole big, it's a huge campus down there of
I
really
did
cool
George
stuff.
Washington's house. I did it in the middle of the day, and
Ah,
I remember it was a really good tour, but I also remember I couldn't pay attention because we took our niece with us, and she kept saying that her feet hurt and she didn't want to be there the entire time.
that's
So I'm
oh,
trying to enjoy it while our niece is not. We are live on YouTube, and Elwinda's hanging out with us and says that's excitingly creepy. I think talking about the New Orleans
quite
stuff
spooky.
is
Oh
quite
yeah.
spooky. Yeah, very, very, very spooky, that tour. I'd highly recommend the New Orleans ghost tours. But I think in those
Definitely.
towns, man, you're expecting to be really afraid. But man, if you're in Hawaii, I love that part of the show. If you're in
Yeah.
some of these non-spooky, just go look for it. See if
Yep.
it's out there. It's going to give you a different view on that city.
Agreed.
All right, Crystal, that's going to wrap it up for the day. So let me ask our adventurers this, because we're going to do another
Yes.
ghost tour show, but the second ghost tour show is all about you. Have you ever been on a ghost tour? What's your favorite? Is there one to avoid? Is there a quirky tour like the Asheville tour that I pointed out earlier, or some of the adjacent stuff where Crystal was talking about, going into some of the spooky homes, or the parades, some of the fun stuff that you've done, either Halloween themed or ghost themed, in your experience. We'll be doing that later on this year. We'll be out of Halloween season, but I think it's going to be fun because, as we said, these ghost tours are great any time of year.
Oh, definitely. So we want to hear. So we would love for you to head to stacking. I was going to say it
You
again.
did
I
almost.
didn't say it. Stackingadventures.com/my story mystery, my story. And we want to hear from you. So the deadline technically is November 5th, but yeah, these stories are good for any time. So we would love, love, love to hear your stories.
This show, as you've heard the last couple episodes, really made by your stories.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to load up a few more stories over the next few weeks so that you've got a lot of stuff. You can also go, by the way, to stackingadventures.com/voicemail if you can't remember
Yep.
my story. All right, Crystal, time for the gear of the day. You said that this is going to make you much more comfortable. You said these, the key word I think was these. These are going to make you more comfortable. Sounds like you can just pack it in your pack. You're going to be good to go. Man, I'm not a sunglasses guy, but I do know that when I remember to pack the sunglasses, and so many people swear by a really good pair of sunglasses, I think your gear of the day is sunglasses.
Wrong, but that's a very good guess. I've almost never remember my sunglasses. It's funny, you overthought it. It's toiletries. It's your full size. So make sure you like it's the actual like your actual brand products in the travel size. Like I have or even reuse old Trader Joe's containers. Like this, something from Trader Joe's. This came in, but I put my face wash in this now, and I label everything. So it is. You get you either a good set of travel containers, and it's all the stuff that you already use, so you don't have to worry about being allergic to the hotel shampoo or conditioner, or having a reaction to the toothbrush, or toothpaste or mouthwash. You have your stuff that you love, that you're not allergic to, that won't give you a rash or a breakout right when you're going to a conference and you're giving a speech, and I used the wrong stuff, and now I have allergy flare up or something. So it was your travel size of your favorite stuff,
That's
or yes,
that's
containers.
that's fabulous. And you know what? There's going to be nothing there to put on the gear of the day
There
page.
will be, because I have both. I have the actual stuff, and I also have a link to the actual contain like the
Oh,
refillable
cool.
containers.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
they
yeah.
come with like the dropper so that you can put, because the hair oil, like, and stuff that doesn't
Oh, I
spill.
wasn't complaining because man, if we can seriously, if you can reuse stuff
Yeah.
and not have to buy anything new, I mean,
Mhm.
how great is that?
Definitely.
Reusing the stuff, repurposing it so that it becomes, that's something that might be a future gear of the day thing. Cause I really like my toiletries bag that I spent
Ah.
a fair amount of time finding a decent bag. And I'm a big fan of a good toiletries bag. I never thought that would make a vacation.
Huh. Oh,
And
yeah.
yet it
Having
does.
everything.
Yeah.
And I even used to do a sewing, well, you can't see it, but sewing class, we made these cute toiletry bags. Um, and we even used waterproof fabric, because I'm very good for not putting the tops back on and throwing it back in there, and you come back to a mess.
If you want to see all of our gear of the day, stackingventures.com/gear of the day. All of this, as you can tell, has been tested by us. We think it's all stuff that is best in class. So stackingventures.com/gear of the day. And if you end up buying your gear of the day from our link, it's not going to cost you any more using our link. And when it's on sale on Amazon, it's on sale at our link. And you'll help out the show at the same time. So fun stuff. Coming up next week, speaking of New Orleans,
Yeah,
we are going back
it's a
to New
good one.
Orleans with, we don't have guests on the show a lot, but we've got two wonderful guests who are going to take us on a very specific theme around New Orleans. We're going to go drinking
Drinking.
in New Orleans. They've got fantastic New Orleans drink recipes. So for your Halloween party or your spooky theme party, no matter what time of year it is, you're going to want to hear from our guests coming up next week. Hang out with us live on, well, by the time you hear this, it would have been yesterday. So we're not going to say that. But it is, for those of you hanging out live on YouTube with us, we'll be recording Monday morning. That is Monday.
The
What time are we doing this? At 10 a.m. Monday at 10 a.m.
Eastern
Eastern
Standard
time. That is 7
11
a.m. So you
time
can
zone.
do it before work if you're Pacific time. So we will be with our new friends, Christy and Sharon, who are going to share a New Orleans drinking adventure and tour.
Yay.
Thanks to everybody for hanging out with us on
Yes.
X and
Appreciate it.
on YouTube. Please leave us a review of the show. And I think that's it. She's Crystal.
And I'm Joe. He's Joe.
We'll see you next time. Keep on adventuring, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
All right. We said that was going to be short, and we went an hour.
Oh gosh.
That was fun.
That was fun. We're still recording. It shows for me we're still recording.
Yeah, I know. Because second I hit
Oh, it
stop,
kills us.
it'll kill everybody. So thanks for hanging out with us, everybody.
All right.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye. So much for short. That is funny.
All right. And I think we're off, but